Okay, so let's talk about getting ourselves prepped for drawing. So, this is a drafting table. This one is a portable drafting table that I've had since, 8 years-ish now. So as you can see, it's really old, but still very functional. Abused, but functional. So this thing is called a parallel bar. A parallel bar comes attached to the table, right? It gives us a straight horizontal line. And it has knobs on the side, so you can release it and lock it, right? Release and lock, so that you can push it up and down, right, onto a drawing. Okay, so parallel ruler. If you do not have a parallel bar, you could always use a T-square. What is a T-square? It's this, right? You could find a good straight edge surface, make sure that it's actually straight. T-bar has this side to it, so what you can do, right, is lock this to create a parallel ruler. Okay, it's not as good, but if we don't have this at home and you want to do your homework at home, T-bar is a great way of doing your homework. Beautiful. So to start off, before starting with any drawing at all, I always use trace paper, also known as onion skin, right? As we talked about before, trace paper is so that it's so light that you can actually see through it, okay? And it's super cheap. This roll costs $10, right? And there's a lot in there. So all you have to do first is, rip out a certain amount, okay? You're gonna rip out a certain amount, and then roughly, I always rip out about an 18 by 24 or less, because it's so cheap and it should not be precious, right? You can always just rip a piece off, crumble it over, no one cares. That's fine. So, grab a masking tape, okay? We are going to start off by lifting your parallel ruler just a bit, so that now your tracing paper is under it, okay? You're gonna tape the top part, 2 sections. You're gonna flatten the paper, making sure it's flat, roll it down a little bit, and then tape the edges on the end. My camera only goes so far, so here it is, one end, and then tape it on the other end. And now you're ready to go with drawing on trace paper. So now that you have had your trace paper set up, we want to start drawing. Eventually we want to get to a place where we can draw the ground plan, the plan view of the piece you want to draw, the elevation of it, and the sections that is required so that people who are going to build the set knows how to build the set. Before you get to this point, however, this is still rough. The point about having a rough idea like this is that you can always rip a piece of it and then put it onto a next trace paper if you want to, in order to arrange all of your pieces to fit onto a piece of drafting. For example, if you wanted to fit it on an arc C, which is 18 by 24, you can have multiple pieces of trace paper and try to line it all up within a space, right? To get to this point for me, I judged a lot of sections so that I squeezed it in as much as possible so that I can show that there's a section from this angle, there's a second section over here, third, which also lines up with the plan, right? Remember, it always has to line up. Within your plate, the plan view lines up with the elevation, and the elevation lines up with all the section, so that all of the dimensions over here can be carried through, right? As you can tell, this unit is 20'8" tall. Once you do the first section over there, looking on that end, it actually is 22, and then etc, etc, etc. Okay? Same with the elevation to the plan. Okay, so it's the same dimension. Okay, wonderful. Great. So just to start, all you need is really a pencil, your scale ruler, and this wonderful thing, the triangle, right? So let's pretend that we want to draft this sticky note. Okay, I already looked at how wide it is. In this case, because we're drafting it in full scale, I'm just gonna use it and trace it on. Okay, that's our baseline. We start there first. We're gonna do the plan view. The plan view, which is literally looking at it from above. Okay, so looking at it from above, we're gonna just make some marks, which in all honesty, these marks will be made by you already measuring the item. So we already drew a line here. We're gonna go ahead and go up using the parallel rule as a stabilizer, right? With this triangle. And then we have a line that we have to draw up here. We know that it is actually parallel to this line. So all we do is slide the parallel rule up. Boop. Okay. So now we know how tall this is, right? All we need to do here is then do a little dimension line. Boop. Boop. Go up a little. Leave a space in between. Always do a little tick mark so we know how far we're going. Add the dimension. Same with the height. Oopsie. Careful. There we go. Same with the height. Here we go. Push down using your triangle. Go up, tick, tick, dimension, right? This is just trace. So all of these extra lines can still be here because we will still transfer this over to a piece of vellum that goes on top of the piece. So what would happen actually, let's pretend that this is vellum, right? Vellum is close to, this is still trace paper, but if you have vellum, it's close to trace paper, but it's much thicker. However, you can also still see the drawings below it. So it's really a transfer of the drawing. So for example, if you have your vellum on top, same idea, right? Put your vellum on top. We're gonna stabilize the vellum, right? We wanna stabilize it by putting some masking tape over it. Some people use drafting dots if you're fancy. I'm not. But if you are fancy, using drafting dots would be wonderful. So, boop. Let's just do this for now, for a quick demo. Okay, so looking at the drawing, right, the trace itself, we went beyond because in reality, this Post-it note does not have extension lines beyond where it ends. So when you're ready to, when you plated everything out, right, and now you're ready to transfer the drawing over to vellum, what you'll do is that you'll be more careful. What I do sometimes with this is that I do start strong, I'm going to roll your pencil so it's sharpened, finish strong, meaning any line that meets, you're going to go a little bit more, go over it twice so that it's much more present. For example, I just did a double over there. I'm going to do it again here. Double, little up, end. This way, when we're looking at a drawing, it ends at a point, right? So we know, we're telling people, hey, the drawing stops there, the piece stops there. Same with above. Double, go a little over, double, right? Here we go. Then same thing over on this end. Double, scroll up. Cute, right? And this is then now plan view. So don't forget, you also have the dimensions, right? You still have to carry those over. What are the dimension lines? This thing is about I measured it and it's 3 inches. So you go 3 inches. 3 inches, because we're drawing in full scale here, right? We also have the tick marks to show them where the dimension ends. Boop, boop. Boop, it ends there. Tick, tick. We still have the horizontal piece. Tick, tick. Okay, and then, of course, you have to label it. This thing is, well, this thing is called, let's say, called post-it plan view. Cool. Post-it plan view. Do one more so we know what it is. Some people also do scale over here, right? This scale is full scale. Roughly. Cool. So the difference here, right, between what we did on trace paper versus vellum, honestly, is that the vellum version is supposed to look more finished. Well, it's more finished. Notice here, right? In the trace paper version, we're just figuring it out right now. But when you transfer it to the vellum, we have a more complete drawing, okay? And eventually you'll get to drawing actual scenery, but for this demo, notice this is start strong, end strong, right? You start strong so that while you're looking at the drawing, you really see the edges of the piece, like so. And that's how you start drawing.